Welcome to Healthy Children. Today we're going to look at one of the all-important new adventures for babies and their parents and caregivers, starting infants on solid foods. Once you begin to experience the joys and the mess of introducing solid foods for your baby, you will be doing much more than just putting food in your baby's tummy. You're introducing lifelong attitudes about health and nutrition.
The American Academy of Pediatrics currently recommends that babies receive only breast milk and/or formula for the first 6 months of life. While recognizing that some infants may be developmentally ready before that time, solid foods should be started as close to 6 months of age as possible. By this time, your infant will have achieved full head control, can be propped up in a sitting position with some support, can lean forward in anticipation, and can pull backward or turn away when satisfied. Iron-fortified single-grain cereals on a once-a-day basis is a good place to start. Rice cereal and oatmeal tend to be the most hypoallergenic grains. Unless there's a medical indication, always use a spoon to introduce the solids rather than mixing it into a bottle. Once your infant has adjusted to taking the cereals with a spoon, go ahead and introduce other solids, such as single-ingredient, pureed fruits, vegetables, or meats. The order of which solid foods to start with is not too critical, and emphasis should be placed on a balanced variety rather than quantity. It is also important to introduce new solids one at a time over the course of 3 to 4 days to ensure your baby does not have an allergy to that particular food.
He don't like it.
Initially start giving solids once a day, then gradually work towards a 2 to 3 times a day feeding schedule by the time your baby is 9 to 10 months old. Finally, for commercially prepared foods, read the labels. The plainer the food is and the less additives it contains, the higher the nutritional value. Combination meals tend to have higher starch and sugar contents and lower protein, so choose individual preparations instead. Mealtime is often the place where babies start to exert their independence. First of all, relax and don't panic. Babies sense tension, and forcing or making an issue of eating can sometimes make things worse, turning mealtime into a power play. If they refuse, don't make a big deal of it, and try again after a few minutes. One good meal out of 2 or 3 is not unusual. Be persistent, but keep in mind that your baby's diet can vary on a daily basis, so go with the flow and trust your baby's ability to indicate hunger or fullness. Strained or pureed foods can be easily prepared at home with a food grinder, blender, or food processor. Because they may contain high amounts of nitrates, however, canned or home-prepared carrots, spinach, beets, collard greens, or turnips should not be given. Added salt, sugar, or other spices are not necessary when preparing homemade foods. Fruits may be served raw after 8 to 9 months of age, except for avocados and bananas, which don't need to be cooked. Vegetables and meats should always be cooked. If you prepare more than 1 day's feeding at a time, you can freeze them in individual containers or in ice cube trays with each cube equivalent to 1 serving. These can then be thawed and served later on at room temperature. As your baby gets older, gradually introduce Lumpier Foods between 8 to 10 months of age. Juices should be delayed until 6 months of age and should only be given through a sippy cup rather than the bottle. Soft finger foods or finely chopped soft foods can be started at 9 to 10 months of age, depending on how your baby is adjusting to the lumpier foods. Infants must be observed closely, however, in case of aspiration or choking when starting these chopped foods. Honey, citrus, egg whites, wheat, shellfish, and peanut butter should not be given before 1 year of age. Egg yolks can be given at 9 months, and whole milk no sooner than 12 months.
These are some of the key questions parents have about when and how to start their babies on solid foods. You may have other questions or concerns, and you should never hesitate to ask your pediatrician directly. For more tips on better understanding your children's health and well-being, and for all the answers to child-raising questions, look for other programs in our series, Healthy Children.